Hi friends, new yap session. Good morning. It's very early. Who wants to see where I am? It's very beautiful. Wow, it's so pretty. Good morning. Okay, today's message is a fun one. I've been sitting on it for a while, so if you're here to vibe and yap with me, let's call in the light, the good vibes, the love, any spirit teams and angels. But this message is already pretty clear and pretty loudly given to me. So I wrote a poem when I first got this download, like, I don't even know, 7 months ago. And the poem is, which I'll try to insert somewhere, if statistics mattered, nothing would beat the odds. Now, I think we should talk about this because I think our society has become a little too dependent on the idea of statistics and numbers. And before anyone loses their mind, let's get into it because this is a radical statement. But there's a lot of reason behind it, and let me explain myself, okay? For anyone who needs credentials for a discussion about numbers, let me just run you through me real quick. When my last 2 years of high school at ASU's high school, took basically nothing but college courses and graduated valedictorian. Went to NAU where they discovered Pluto and studied astrophysics for a year, and then realized that the world would never be okay if people kept acting the way that they did. So I switched to political science and switched to ASU, and yeah, so I have a degree where a bachelor's in science, where I studied economics and statistics, the ones that the business bros take. So before anyone comes at me for a political science degree, I took the same classes that the ASU businessmen take, okay? And so let's get started on this conversation, right? If statistics mattered, nothing would beat the odds. Statistics are really just a way to gauge something. They are not matter of fact, right? Because when I was a kid, let me take this off. When I was a kid, I used to always argue with people, like, I had really bad anxiety, so my mom would always say something like, okay, do you know how few people that happens to? It only happens to 1% of the population. And I would look her in the eyes and be like, and how do you know that I'm not the 1% of the population? What proof do you have towards that, right? And I think a lot of people have that fear where it's like, okay, I have this skill, I have this talent, I could start a business, but like, what are the chances that I actually succeed? Or like, what are the chances that I actually do well in this thing that I'm thinking about doing, you know? And I think that's where a lot of people get caught up in this whole statistics thing. Girl, the statistics never fucking mattered, okay? Because like, think about all of the very specific statistics that go into everything, right? Like, just the fact that you were born and like healthy pregnancies, like going through all of that, even getting pregnant in the first place, like all of that's crazy specific, very high odds, like very, you know what I mean? Like very specific. And like, picture every single event in your life with the odds attached to it, right? So what are the chances when you went and took that test that you were BSing that you still ended up getting an 88%, right? Like, what are the chances that after that you went to lunch and then you met somebody who told you a fact that stuck with you for the rest of your life? You know what I mean? Like, everything in congruity just is so insane that if the statistics mattered, literally nothing would happen, right? Just think about the odds of like two particles colliding within the universe after the Big Bang. Do y'all know how much space is out there? It's infinite. And you're telling me that the particles had the odds of colliding paths? Like, shit, girl, like, statistics mean nothing. Like, everything is possible. Like, statistics are just a way to gauge the likelihood of something, and even that isn't always accurate. So one important, like, spiritual message that, or download, I suppose, I got the other day was, I'm a very intuitive person, and I know anybody finding me probably is also a very intuitive person. So I just heard the question, and why are you looking for confirmation from somebody when you're gonna believe your intuition anyways? Kind of speaking in the fact of like, I like to ask people questions to confirm my feeling about them, but even if they were to lie to me after asking that question, I still would trust my intuition over them, right? So I think that we should really start taking that mindset of like, why am I not trusting myself? And applying that towards our understanding of the world outside of us, right? So when you hear of studies that sound really radical and crazy, like eating chocolate makes you live longer by 10 years, let me tell you that those statistics, those studies have been parroted, twisted, reflected through funhouse mirrors before it made its way onto the news to you, right? And another important thing to remember is that the world is built like this on purpose. Like I said, political science degree, really just learned the entire history of how the America was set up and like the rest of the world. Oh, 33 miles my gas tank. And that's funny because my miles is 14555. Anyways, so like shit, where was I? Yeah. Oh, I totally lost my place. That's okay. Angels are saying move on from that then. Okay, well, the next point that I'm really trying to make is that there's really no point in denying yourself the ability to make your own opinion. Yes, that's where I was going. So these reports, they're mirrored, they're parroted, they're talked over, but people don't often have the academic literacy to go through and read these studies and fully understand what they're saying, right? So that's how easy it is for misinformation to be spread and to be construed as correct information. So before you go and believe anybody's study about anything, which please use discretion. Like, I'm not saying go and literally tell everybody that they're crazy, right? But before you start to bring yourself down off of a random study, you have to remember that these people picked the numbers that matter. And like, I know that sounds ridiculous, but the first thing I was taught in my statistics ethics class that everybody takes if you want to be in business or science, like the science side of a lot of degrees like that, like my political science degree, you're taught that you get to choose which numbers matter, okay? Like, that was the first thing I was taught, is that like, hey guys, guess what? Studies work for you. Like, you decide to, like, for example, if you were to do a study of how much does eating an apple before school affect a child, right? Seems like a pretty simple thing. And like, anybody from an objective, like, outside standpoint is gonna be like, oh, well, they probably have measures that they're studying, like the blood sugar levels and like the ability to focus, yada yada. See, that's what I'm talking about. You see how like you start assuming what they studied? Okay, well, you can go and look at what they actually studied and like see if you believe the methods that they worked with, because a lot of studies get criticized because of their lack of methodology, right? So just before we depend too hard on a statistic and tell ourselves that we can't do something, maybe we should go and check the validity of these statements, or at least check the validity within ourselves, right? Like, if you don't want to go and start detail reading every single report that you hear a statistic of, like, that's so understandable. And like, to a degree, we should be able to trust the people that are posting things, right? Like, that's their job, isn't it? I'm just saying, before you go and start to bring yourself down, like if you're trying to start a new business, if you want to go back to school, if you want to meet friends, if you want to accomplish something that no one has accomplished before, do not let the odds stop you. The odds mean nothing. The odds mean nothing. Because who's to say you're not that 1%, right? Like, when I was a kid, when I used to say to my mom, and what's your proof that I'm gonna fail? And what's your proof that this isn't gonna work out for me? So I think everyone really deserves that grace in life, and like this understanding that, yes, standardization of numbers is a fantastic thing, but it's also gonna be the downfall of genuine human knowledge if we don't start to take nuance with it, right? Because standardizing everything is really just the fastest way to exclude information just on like bias alone, you know? So, you know, let me say it again. If statistics mattered, nothing would beat the odds. And you're beating the odds every day when you do stuff, you know? Like, what are the odds of getting into a car accident and like you avoid those every time leaving your neighborhood and going to work? Like, what are the odds, yada yada? What are the odds that your tire pops? What are the odds that the coffee shop makes you late? You know what I mean? But instead you end up on time and you end up where you're supposed to be, just when you're supposed to be there, and it's a very beautiful thing. And so I think that my overall point in this is that if you start to get to a point where you feel overwhelmed by the idea of how many things could go wrong, just remind yourself that the odds don't matter. Just tell yourself, look yourself in the mirror and be like, yeah. So, oh my gosh, look at this dog. Can I flip this around? Oh, he walked behind the bench, but he's so cute. Look at my friend. Oh my God. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Anyways, I hope this all made sense, because I've just seen so many people stop themselves before they even begin something just off the premise that, oh, well, the odds wouldn't work in my favor. Girl, nah, we make our own universes, we make our own reality, which is a conversation for another day. But if you don't know where to start on changing your life, let it start with not believing other people when they tell you you can't do something. You know what I mean? Like, be the statistical anomaly, be the thing that changes their minds. Like, show them that they're wrong. Don't let someone tell you that you're wrong before you've even tried. That is injustice to you. You have great things to accomplish, and those things, they'll happen eventually. Don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna say that they won't happen, but if you really want to align yourself with your highest purpose, then stop believing other people when they tell you that things are impossible or very difficult and not worth it, because it's just not true. Like, you are very capable of achieving very statistically absurd things. Like, everybody is, dude. And I think that there's really no point in harming ourselves by just harping down on this idea that, like, oh, well, the scientists said this, because nobody's, dude, for real, nobody's even checking this shit. Like, when I was a physics student, we did this whole, like, little mini, my teacher was great, Professor Dolly at NAU, shout out. He did this, like, little lesson about, like, ethics, and he was just talking about this one physics man, but the physicist, who was well read. Holy fuck, there's babies. Y'all, look at those baby ducklings. Okay, yes, physicist. He was well renowned, and he started to realize that the journals that he was publishing to just weren't checking anything. So to the point that he was going out of his way to write falsehoods into his papers, and they were still getting published because nobody was fact checking them. So this is what I'm saying about standardization, is that it provides a false sense of security. So don't let that false sense of security lull you into doing nothing, dude. Like, there's so much to do in your life, and do not let other people tell you to stop before you begin. I cannot stress that enough. Like, it is so important that you give yourself the chance. Fuck it, give yourself the chance to fail. Because at the end of the day, like, then you're just helping. Still, you're just figuring out one path not to go down. Like, that's a pretty great thing to show other people, I feel like, in my head. I don't know, man. So just don't waste your time believing people that you can't fact check, if that makes sense. Like, if you don't have the academic literacy to go through and believe somebody, then fuck it, don't read those studies, and don't psych yourself out by taking in information that's just gonna make you upset when you have very positive, amazing things to accomplish. Oh my gosh, 1 on my camera, 33 on my car, and then 633 on the miles. Oh my gosh, the angels are here, guys. Or time, 33 miles, 633 time. Either way, master numbers. But yeah, I love you all so much, and you all have such amazing things to accomplish. So let me finish it off again by saying, if statistics mattered, nothing would beat the odds.